Olá a todos, bem-vindos a mais um episódio do Prova de Contacto. Eu sou o João Paulo e, como sempre, tenho aqui o Ruben.
Olá, malta.
E hoje temos aqui também um episódio com a nossa parceria com a Leica, que vai ser aqui apresentado pelo Ruben, como sempre, vai fazer uma pequena bio e depois iremos sim falar com o nosso convidado. E avisamos desde já que a conversa vai ser em inglês.
É verdade.
Portanto, desde já pedimos desculpas pelo nosso inglês, pelo menos pelo meu, que o Ruben se arrasca-se melhor do que eu. E antes disso, vamos querer só aqui passar rapidamente um agradecimento aos nossos patronos, ao Fabrício Santos, à Joana Prada Lima, ao Nuno Cruz, ao Gonçalo Faria, ao Rui Pedro Oliveira, ao Pedro Pinto, ao Marco Miguel, ao Tave, ao Filipe Parra e ao Bruno Carvalho. Muito obrigado, malta, por nos continuar a apoiar aí todos os meses. E agora sim, Ruben, faz então aí a apresentação do nosso.
Então hoje vamos receber o Alwin Maigler. É um fotógrafo freelance com base em Stuttgart, na Alemanha, com foco claro na fotografia artística de moda, retrato, automóvel e projetos de inspiração cultural, que tem vindo a consolidar uma carreira reconhecida por clientes de renome como a Porsche, a Leica, a Mercedes, o Ballet de Stuttgart, a Galeria Estatal e a Ópera Estatal de Stuttgart. O seu trabalho tem sido publicado em revistas como a Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, muitas outras. Paralelamente aos trabalhos comerciais, Maigler apresenta os seus projetos pessoais em exposições individuais, coletivas e mostras conjuntas. É parceiro da Leica e membro profissional da BFF, ou Associação Profissional de Fotógrafos Freelance, integrando a direção regional da Baden-Württemberg. I hope I'm saying this right. Apoia ainda a iniciativa Female Photo Club, promovendo maior representatividade da feminina na fotografia. Além da prática fotográfica, estuda design de comunicação, onde é bolseiro do programa da Deutschlandstipendium. So, hello, Alwin. I'm hoping I'm doing everything right, especially pronouncing your name. I'm hoping I'm not stepping on anything.
Welcome.
Obrigado.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much for accepting our invitation for this talk.
Thank you for having me, guys. And it's an honor to be here and talk to you.
So we usually have this first question for everyone, because we believe it's important for everyone to know this from every guest, which is how the photography came to your life.
Honestly,
is a family background? Is there anything?
No. I mean, I do know that, like I found, in old family albums that my father used to be like a very, like not just an amateur, but like a very ambitious amateur. He, of course, photographing on film, he photographed on a Pentax 6 and, had his own darkroom studios in his small apartments back then.
Okay.
And but I don't recall any of this. I just know this from family albums and from stories that my mother told me. But other than that, I do not necessarily come from an artistic background from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
We do have artists in the family, but my mother, she's from Poland, former Soviet Union, and she's from a working class family. So is my father, and he was one of the first, people who went to academia to become an academic.
Okay.
So therefore, I think they didn't necessarily had in mind, you should become a photographer or an artist. Rather, like, become a teacher, become a lawyer.
Okay.
Do something good with your
usual.
life. But so I think I started with, 16, 17, photographing the very first friends and people in my group and in my life. And I was always very close to people with photography. So people were always the main subject. And
was there a girl? It's always a girl.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is. It is. I do remember. And from there, I think, I had the chance to work in this little fashion startup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was also kind of the introduction to, me wanting to become a fashion photographer in the very early years and pursuing that way. But I must say, I think the most important thing was that I always had people who had faith in me and who kind of just like became mentors for no reason, like for no particular reason, you know.
So you had a vision for your work.
No,
No?
I had no idea. I just maybe
So
I had
no
ambition.
aspiration at all.
Yes, I was just like I think I was very eager to become a photographer, but I had no idea how to do it. And I was just very lucky that back then, you know, I come from a very small village in southern Germany, and back then there was somebody from Stuttgart, where I'm now based, who dated one of my neighbors, and he was working in media, and I kind of like he became my mentor.
Okay.
I was always asking him, "How is this photo? That's shit. How's this? Going to your knees. Don't be so lazy."
Yeah.
You know, and he was hard in that sense, but that was good.
Hmm.
And from that on, he kind of like gave me a few, you know, like instructions regarding photography, but also like how to pursue this career and how to go this way. And he said that I most definitely shouldn't, I actually don't know how to say it, like to do the apprenticeship, you know, to learn.
Okay, to do a formal training.
Yes, I shouldn't do that, because here in Germany, to learn to become a photographer as a formal, you know, one is one of the used to be one of the 10 most the worst paid apprenticeships that you can do. The tariffs are horrible. You cannot make a living. So he said that I should do assistance and become an assistant, and that's what I did for 2 years. So I assisted various photographers in various fields, and it was very good to become, you know, to get like this insight into these various forms of photography there are.
So you bounce between photographers for different styles, for fashion, for product photography. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that gave me very early on a good representative, you know, like experience on set to see, oh wow, okay, that's amazing. This is a field that I'm very interested in, and oh my god, 3 weeks in the studio shooting handbags is horrible.
Yeah.
You know, or polishing metal and then kind of like getting the reflections out and these kind of things.
Yeah.
So I think that was a very good experience, and I wish I did it longer.
So you don't feel attracted to any kind of formal training by now? Is there anything in specific you would like to improve on your shooting style?
You know, it's
Going
always
after a big master and just asking, teach me.
Yeah, no, of course. And you know, I just came from Arles, and in Arles I found these crazy guys from Palermo, Sicilian guys, and they have this artist residency where they teach you, they invite you, and then you go there for 10 days, and they teach you like 4 historic printing techniques, and it's like, oh, this is so cool, I want to go there. And so yeah, I think now my perspective changed on a few things. Definitely. Did you do a formal training?
Yes, we both did.
Yeah.
And how was that for you?
Yeah,
at the same place.
In different
same
years.
school, different years.
Yeah, different years.
The thing that I usually say, because once in a while I do say the same things that you were told to some students, because I believe too much formal training will kill your sensibility to photography, and it takes years to go back to that reaction when you're just impulse. And although you need some formal training, you need to learn composition, you need to learn how to position lights, you need some background, but too much formal training, I still believe it will kill your photography style for a couple of years. It will set you back. So it's a two-end situation here, because the kids usually want to go for the 2-year training, and after that they're all formatted just like this, and it's harder for them to break from those walls that are built around them. You should be doing this, you should be doing this, and it's harder for everyone. I felt it when I ended my course. I felt that I was less responsive to things because I kept looking for, is this the right composition? Is the light okay? Is it this shouldn't be an issue by then. This should be all an instinct.
Yes.
And I still believe that formal training does kill a bit of our progress. I don't know if Jean Paul still feels the same.
Yeah, in part, yes, because probably the technical issue perhaps takes a little advantage after we get the course, because you want to feel that everything is perfect, and that natural instinct sometimes fades a little. Yeah. So I agree, but I think it's important to people to learn, even if they take that time to start thinking some again outside the box and leave that formatting style of
Yeah.
thinking. But I think it's important to know that, and then perhaps think outside the box, because there's some students out there that they don't have any clue
Yeah.
what they want,
What they want to do. Yeah.
what style they want, because they are some of them are starting fresh some kind of way. So I think it's important they can learn a little bit of everything, and then they start, okay, I prefer fashion, or I prefer commercial or editorial or street photojournalism.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's harder for those that already know something, and they already have some kind of path they want to follow, and when they start that formal learning, sometimes that path can start to take
Yeah.
some turnarounds, and perhaps it's not that good, but it depends of each one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
but
I also do believe that it is, I think the most important thing within this, what you learn within that formal training, is probably to know your craft,
Yeah.
to know how to work with with a camera as a tool,
Yeah.
and to know, okay, the ISO does that, the shutter does that. And
the
I do
basics.
see, or I used to see this a lot with my classmates in class, that we all are, creatives, and we all have great ideas and concepts and styles, but some of them had problems with the craft itself, on the working on the camera. And but I do believe that, of course, somebody can tell you the shutter does this and the ISO does that, but in the end, I learned everything just by doing it wrongly until it
Yeah.
did it right.
Until it
you
clicked,
know.
yeah. And especially nowadays, kids have access to YouTube. They can learn everything so fast nowadays. So things are changing very, very fast, and we're seeing more kids being more creative and showing different styles and creating new things, and it's all due to that. They're learning by themselves.
And nowadays they are access to more sources of knowledge
Of course.
than before. There's plenty of things, like Ruben said, YouTube. There are plenty of books nowadays. There's plenty of things. You just have to Google it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was harder. If you want to see photo books, you have to go to some libraries, or you have to buy. Nowadays, you can have a lot of information just in the
Yeah.
front of a computer. But you have to learn, and you have to practice. Most of all, you have to practice a lot. You can learn photography just in theory. That doesn't make you a photographer. At least that's what I think. But now we're talking about studies. You're studying communication design.
Yes.
Does that design background influence you somehow in your photographic vision and style?
I would say most definitely. I mean, when I started studying, I started 2020,
Hmm.
and that was not because of COVID. It was just like a lucky coincidence in that sense, that because back then, how old was I? 23? Yeah, something like 23, 24. And I was already working as a photographer,
Hmm.
making my experiences before as an assistant. I also became this member in this photographers association, but I never had these kind of like formal training in any way.
Yeah.
You know, I just went to school and that's it. And I thought like, maybe I could deepen some sort of like artistic training in a way. And I thought, okay, like in photography, I do already feel a little bit comfortable. Not that I thought that, yeah, I'm already the greatest and I don't need that, but I was like, I think that, you know, like the requirements regarding creatives, as we know them, are becoming more and more interdisciplinary. And I think that was partly the reason why I said like, I think if I study something that is a little bit broader than solely photography, will help me in the long run to have a better understanding over the things. And in the end, I must definitely agree to what you said, because, and it's a slow process, you know, you don't notice it right away. Like the first few semesters, I was like, what am I doing here, and what do we learn and stuff like this. And now, if I look at my things that I did before I started the study and where I'm now, I'm like, wow, this completely changed everything. And also, you know, like within myself, like what do I want? Where do I want to go? All these kind of things. And I think one of the best examples is probably the nuances and nocturne books that I did, that were published last year with the Kelbe Verlag in Berlin, and where I worked very closely with two editorial designers or communication designers. And I think that was like the major merge, you know, of graphic design, editorial design, photography, layout, typography, and these kind of things, where I already touched base in my study and I do have an understanding for these things. But I also learned, like, and that's the biggest takeaway for me, I think, within my study of communication design, for example, you know, you need to do a poster, you need to do typography and graphic design. And I learned that I'm not a good graphic designer, you know, and that's like, okay, but I learned what good graphic design is. And that's why I knew, okay, I shouldn't do that. I should get my guys who do it. And I think that was a good, like the biggest takeaway was that you cannot do everything by your own. And if you want to create something really great, you should get the people who are really great in a certain thing, and then you put them together, and then it's good.
Teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were saying it was 2021, then in 2021 you became the youngest photographers for the BFF in Germany, right?
Yeah, yes.
And it started this project with the Stuttgart Ballet in 2020, so this is really, really early. So
yes,
that recognition from the BFF influenced somehow the starting of the project with the ballet. How that collaboration began?
I mean, honestly, in the beginning, it was the Stuttgart Ballet. How do we start? I mean, like, if I was a complete outsider to the ballet world, before I photographed the first dancer ever, I never went to the ballet to see it. I don't know if, have you guys been to the ballet?
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
I've seen and shoot dance, but never ballet.
Yeah. So and I was kind of the same. I was like, okay. And back then it was COVID, you know, like the culture was kind of like in a hold or a still stand. And I photographed opera singers, photographed in, you know, empty museums where nobody was allowed to go to. And I was doing a project on that. And I thought, like, of course, ballet dancers, maybe they cannot dance as well. I contacted them, and little that I know, like the Stuttgart Ballet is one of the most renowned international companies in the world.
Yes.
I didn't know that. And so I asked them, and they were like, no. And I was like, oh, that's a pity. But in the end, they kind of like explained that due to, you know, like the hygiene concept and the COVID back then, it was not possible for outsiders to enter the studios and these kind of things. But they said, like, if I would want to do something, I would have to contact some of the dancers myself, and then I can see to manage it in a private atmosphere, you know,
Okay.
private context. And so the very, very first dancers that I photographed, I actually photographed in my living room, because it was COVID, December lockdown, you know, crazy
Everybody.
times where, you know, it almost seems like this bad dream that we had.
So it's a COVID project.
It started as a COVID project, and in a very different context. It was about this, you know, like the halt of the culture, which ended up leading me away where I never could have imagined. And today I'm talking to you because of that, you know. I'm talking to you and having an exhibition and a project that lasted over 5 years and is, you know,
Wow.
still going on in that sense.
It's immense. Are you planning on something following these two books that you published? Still on the same subject?
I mean, of course, because when you invest like close to 5 years of your professional life to a topic or to a body of work, then yeah, I mean, like the purpose of a book is to have a start and an ending, and it's also good to, you know, close certain chapters to say, okay, this now it's
done.
finished. Also, you know, internally, but then of course you learn so much. You learn so much about a certain topic. You dive into this world for 5 years, and you gain a lot of knowledge. Also, combining photography in this world. Where I said, like, no, I most definitely want to continue photographing and staying in Bali, because I see that there's a lot of passion in me for these kind of topics. And so before I went to Arles in South France, I was in Monaco, photographing there at the Monte Carlo Ballet, taking a few pictures, getting to know some people. And so in that sense, like, I plan to
do something with it.
Yes, to definitely stay in the ballet world.
So for those that haven't seen your work, how would you describe the creative concept behind nuances? What you're trying to capture with those images? Because I have a I saw the two books together.
Yeah.
And I have a peculiar way of what I'm seeing. And I happen to show to my wife because she's a former gymnast.
Oh, that's cool.
And she really liked the way the how you photographed the human form. That's what she enjoyed the most. And she pointed out little things like it's harder for the ballet dancers to release their form when they're being photographed. Especially, I still remember that picture with the dancer inside the fountain, and her foot is still very strict, like she's on tips.
Yeah.
They really can't let it go. So I have a very peculiar way of seeing your work. But how did it all came about? What's the creative concept behind this? Did you envision this in two books, in the two ways that you shoot it? No.
I mean, the very first the first series was the Nuances series, which some of the first photos started in my home studio during COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
And back then I had, like, if I'm being honest, I had no idea what I was doing, because it was the first introduction to a topic, and I still had some sort of like fashion background in my mind, where like, okay, we need to have hair and makeup, and we need to have styling and all these kind of things. And like, the more and more I photographed dancers, I realized, like, no, that's really not what necessarily dance is about, but also like what I'm curious about. And I think it's very important to understand that the first book was very necessary to create the second one. So to create Nuances was very important, and the early work to being able to evolve into this Nocturne, where we are going to a different style, because first I had to learn on how to work with dancers and what dance is about for me. And for me, it's all about motion, dynamic, and solving that. I always call it this paradox of working with a media that is static photography. I mean, it's a still image. Nothing is moving, it's still, it's frozen. And now working with an art form that lives in the moment, that lives from movement, and solve, like, it seems like a wrong concept to say, like, that's like, why don't you then take a video? And I realized, okay, this paradox is what's interesting me. And I think that I kind of had to develop this. I always call it like a grammar, or like this certain themes that you can apply on almost every picture that you will find in Nossos, where I'm creating these kind of dynamics through the lines, through the composition of the whole picture. And it took a while. It took a while for me to understand that that's what I'm looking for, and also fulfilling a certain, responsibility as well regarding the dancers, because
and what they represent, right?
Yes, because ballet dancers, they're not born as ballet dancers. They devote almost their entire life to this cause and to this art form, and I have the greatest respect for that. And then careers that are not that long, they you cannot maintain your body and your physicality for such a long period of time as an opera singer or an artist, or us, like, we can photograph until we drop dead. but then these careers are usually limited to 35, 40 maybe. That's like, then it's, if it's long. So it means that it also comes with a responsibility in immortalizing their youth, their strength, their discipline, their devotion, their passion. And this all goes into these pictures. And I think that's like the main approach.
And about talking about approach, do you have any thoughts during a shoot? Do you give directions? How do you choreograph the movement, or just let the dancers improvise?
I think most definitely in the first book, yes, it was very free and very improvised. I would say that's also a quality that you could see in the pictures that are not staged, because usually I would, have a little chat with the people, ask how their day were, what kind of music they like outside of the theater. And then sometimes I would have ballerinas dance to techno, and other times,
That's
of course.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And other times they would say, no, I actually, currently we're working on Swan Lake, and there's this variation, and I really love that. And then we would play that. And, or, other contemporary pieces that they would work on. And so there was like, it's a very collaborative working. So it's the pictures are always as great as what the people are willing to give to me. I think it's almost in every genre like this, a portrait lives also from what the person in front of the camera is willing and generous to give you. And with the dance, I feel that was very similar. But as I said before, like in the first series, I also wouldn't have the abilities to give any directions, because I had no idea. I was like, oh, they are so beautiful. Oh, I cannot do that. That's so beautiful. And then, like, as my work with dance evolved for the second series, where we actively worked with the decontextualization of the stage, where we said, we do not need a stage.
Yes.
Let's go outside. Let's completely break all the visual representation that we know from ballet. How do we completely frame it differently? And we said, okay. And here where I live in Stuttgart, it's topographically, it is in how do you say, like in a kettle. It's like between the mountains in
okay.
in
So it's a
the
valley.
valley.
Valley. Yeah,
Yes.
valley.
We call it kettle. And
Okay.
in the kettle, it's very warm, especially in summer. It gets quite hot. And where I live in the very center. It gets in the summer almost like you cannot sleep because it's that warm,
Wow.
because everything is, concrete, and we don't have a lot of, green spaces, not enough parks and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And so the main concept of the second series was to say, how do we address certain topics in the regard of climate change, in the regard of urbanism, how cities are planned, where it's not getting any colder the next few years. And if I look at the city, we don't have enough parks, and the decisions that are made are completely contra to what you should do. And so we said, okay, is there a way how we can address these kind of topics with this merge from photography and dance? And so it started obviously as an idea to say, like, oh, maybe let's try this. How could that look? And it looked quite cool. And so we went out with the dancers and we created this crazy series, which looks as we're taking over the city. And from what we see in the pictures, it's not necessarily visible that you are in the middle of a big city. It looks like this forbidden garden or these parks and whatever, and and they almost look like these mystical fairy creatures and goblins, and like this fairy tale.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the concept behind that series. But as I said before, it was very crucial that I learned how to work with dancers in the first series. Otherwise, I couldn't have done the second one, where we could, develop these kind of ideas of, you could do that and maybe try that and stuff like that.
It's funny because my wife's interpretation, it's someone that doesn't know anything about photography. But I asked you purely because she knows the topic in question. She looked at the two books and she said the first one, Nuance, she read it as this is a preparation for a play. It's more technical, it's more controlled.
Yeah.
And the second one is the dancers after the show. They're freed.
After party.
Yeah, it's just kind of
Yes.
after party. Yeah. So it's funny because even though she doesn't know anything about photography, she totally understood what we're trying to say with those two books. So it's well, kudos, because getting someone that doesn't know photography and understand what they're trying to say is very, very, very good in photography.
And I think that it's also within the dancers,
Yeah.
Because it was for them, of course, like a controlled studio setting. Yes, I did not work with big lights or anything. Usually worked with a natural lighting from a window and these kind of things. So it's not like a big threatening, studio where it's very constrained. But it's still a studio setting with a lot of control. And the other series, as your wife completely correctly saw, was very free, and the dancers had so much fun, because they never did something like that.
Yeah, it looks totally free, totally spontaneous. That's the feeling that I get from looking at those pictures.
Yes,
and it's totally contrast to the first book.
Yes,
it breaks the rules. You can totally feel it, but you have to have the two books side by side.
Exactly. You have to, exactly, right? So
yeah, they need to work together.
They do belong together, but they also, like, if imagine it to be in one book, then it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. And so, like so many of I have so many great memories of these shootings where, of course, like for the second series where we would go out with the dancers, where this one picture that you mentioned with in the fountain, that's like in the middle of the center, and it's like 2 a.m. and we're like watching over our shoulders, like, okay, is there any police? No. Okay, let's go, jump. And then she jumped into the fountain, and we took a few snaps, and then we ran. So it was a lot of these kind of like guerrilla kind of shootings.
What made you choose flash? Just do you wanted really to break the style? Yeah.
Yes, I thought that I really wanted to have these kind of like a certain harshness to it, a little bit of like dirt, like this. And because usually if I tell you guys now, how would you describe the most typical ballet picture? Yeah. What would you say? What do you see?
It's on a black background. It's very posed, very controlled. One spotlight, something like that. Very theatrical.
You also probably see the tutu.
Yeah.
Very cynical and very cynical thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very clean, a very clean shot.
Yes. And before we like seriously went to the whole, okay, how do we create a book and how do we now move towards publishing? Of course, I did like a big research, and I bought a couple of ballet books, looked at people, what was done, what is more innovative, what is already, what have I seen thousands of times. And I also do believe that originality is an illusion. So you cannot really, create something completely new, but you can put your own things together, and you can, mix. You can mix of styles and influences that you like. And I think that I kind of really liked these harsh contrasts almost. Some of the pictures have humor, and other ones are also very dark, very subversive and like almost creepy. And I really wanted to merge all these kind of elements.
I'll tell you, the first thing I thought when I saw those pictures, I thought, this is Japanese all over it. This has that intrusive park photography,
voyeurism kind of way.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. That's the first thing I thought. I'll bring you a book when you're here for the exhibition. I'll show you exactly what I thought.
I also saw these images. I don't know from when they were, but they were also, I think it was rather a contemporary dance company, or even like traditional Japanese dance, and they photographed them, I think, in Kyoto, very narrow, like streets, wooden streets, and harsh, edgy, grainy black and white analog photos, I think from the 80s or something, which are amazing. I love that kind of things. But I definitely see this, the Japanese style could, I know what you mean.
You can see it there. There's an influence there.
Yes, it is. It is. And I think that's also a reason why they resonated so well, because the Nocturne, we premiered and first shown it when we published it in Tokyo. In the Omotesando Gallery in Tokyo, and we had great feedback there. And before I went to have the exhibition there, I was in Kyoto at the Kyotography, which is this pendant to Arles, but just in Japan, and it's in Kyoto. And it was the first time in my life where I participated in this kind of like portfolio review, where you could go and bring stuff. And I think if you have a very particular question in mind, or a quest where you're like, this is something where I want to have some feedback on. Okay. I think a portfolio review is amazing. And in that sense, I I brought some of my prints, the carbon prints, with me. And I knew that I will have an exhibition in a half year. So in this review, I talked with, one of the major gallerists, the director of one of the major galleries in Tokyo. I talked with a curator from the Tokyo Photography Museum, and all these kind of people, and to get some feedback on it.
Yeah.
And they said that the Japanese are going to love that. They've never seen something like that, but it's going to be very, very hard to sell any of these. And because of various reasons, which they gave me. And that was so insightful to have that kind of professional feedback to a series that you will show in the same country,
Yeah.
and to have a proper evaluation and also this expectation management to yourself,
Yeah.
where you already know, okay, so this is what's going to most likely happen.
Interesting. You talked about the printing, and we have a question regarding your nocturne prints that are made with handcrafted carbon transfer by the master Mario Rodrigues. Why do you choose this traditional printing process? And
Yeah.
and
Why-
does it make the fun artwork? And the honest experience, do you think that it has impact on
Does
that?
it add to the experience?
Yeah.
Is it all worth?
Most
I've
def-
never seen one, so I'm eager to see them.
You're going to be like, and that's all credits to Mario.
Yeah.
You're going to be stunned because these prints are incredible. And I think that collaborating and working with Mario was very insightful and also evolved me as a photographer and as an artist in a way of how I perceive and how do I conceptually be consistent in a series in the regards of what I'm actually doing within the series, within the topic, but also how do you evolve it to the in the regard of publishing, how do you get it on the wall, how do you frame it?
Yeah.
And as I said before, with the dancers, with this paradox of immortalizing these bodies that need all this discipline, all this perfection that goes into this, and finding a certain grasp and a certain permanence. That's what the series is about. To give the fleeting ephemeral of dance a permanence. And then, of course, you need to have the most badass prints that you can get. You need to have the reference of prints that, because photography as a medium, if you put it in the context of art history, is still quite young. I mean, photography is maybe not even close to 200 years. So we do not have a lot of references. How do we archive it properly and all these kind of things? And so the closest that we can get are, for example, carbon printings that started in the 1860s, 1870s. And if you go to the Paris Photo or in Arles, and if you go to the very, historic galleries, you will find carbon prints from these times, and you can still see, oh wow, they're in great shape. They still work, and they're 150 years old. And when I got in touch with Mario, it was again a COVID project in that sense, because it was COVID, and I saw what Mario was doing, and I'm a very curious person, and Mario is the most generous person. And he just said like, hey, yeah, why don't you just come over and I'll show you what we're doing. And so I came over and he showed me some of the stuff. And then the other day he said, yeah, why don't you bring like maybe a file, like bring a picture, which we could do. And this very one is hanging in my room.
So it's the one on the Leica video, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we did that, and when we saw it the first time, then on the carbon print, it was, a perfect match. It was a perfect match in a way of like what was photographed, but how it was involved in the perception, in the analog, how to get it into this kind of from the RGB into the real world.
So tell us, your images are almost exclusively in black and white. What draws you to monochrome photography for these projects, and how does it serve your artistic goals?
I think that especially within these kind of in the body of work in Nuances and Nocturne, where I was exploring, what dance and movement is and how do we translate dance and movement into the still picture, I realized that color doesn't necessarily help me. It actually distracts. So do faces.
Yeah.
And that's not because the dancers are ugly. They are beautiful, they are beautiful faces. And sometimes you will see a face now and then, but it is a very natural instinct of us humans, if we see the depiction of a face, that we are automatically drawn to the face. We
Your attention
instantly
draws to the
look
face. Yeah.
at the face. And if I want the eye to lead along lines, I want the eye to have to be wandering, through the picture. If I put a face there, it's not going to happen because it's there, And I think the same went with color. Not always, but especially in these two series, color wouldn't have served any purpose in a way to help me make a point,
Okay. So there's no chance you will ever see a photo book like this in color. Maybe in the next round.
I mean, like,
Never say never.
Never say never.
First of all, never say never. And currently,
it's a challenge.
I mean, currently, like the last few pictures that I took now in Monte Carlo with the ballet, they're in color. And because I realized, that's interesting. Like, there's something differently happening here. And where I suddenly realized, no, now I'm not interested in black and white anymore. Like, that's lame. And
Plot twist.
right? It's weird, And also for the past year, I am working on a new series which is completely different from everything else that I photographed before. It doesn't have to do anything with dance. It's a very personal series, entirely shot on analog film, on Polaroids. With like I for the past years I'm working with Leica. I have the most expensive gear that you can have, and now I'm find myself photographing with a 25 euro camera from eBay, with expensive film.
Yeah.
But and these pictures are in color, and I love the fact that they are in color. It's very important that they are in color. And so, yeah, I think it varies from project to project, but in that particular one with the Nocturne and Nuances, I think it was good that they are black and white. But what is your take on it? What do you think?
I don't think the project would have worked in color. I think it totally works as it is. I can't even see it in any other way. Especially the places you were shooting, maybe color wasn't going to favor any of the images. But I still would like to see one or two just to make sure I'm thinking straight when I'm looking at them. But it looks black and white was the right choice there.
And
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and imagine just like also now, technically, you're shooting with artificial flash, which is not always flattering for the skin. And then you're also working outside where sometimes you will have a lantern or something else, and then you would have these kind of like mixed white balance problems and these kind of things, which is very challenging. It's very challenging to manage all these kind of lighting situations, in color.
Yeah.
But you're definitely right.
So let's talk about a bit of your upcoming exhibition here in Porto. So
Yes.
you'll be showing these two projects at the exhibition.
Yes.
So what can exhibitors expect from it? And I'm still wondering, how are you going to mix them both together in the exhibition? Have you planned a sequence for this?
I would say that
Magda is doing all the work.
yeah, and
I knew it.
Magda is doing a great job. She she put together a layout, and honestly, it's so fascinating to see. I love that. It's so fascinating to see because like we as photographers are always so close to our own work, and we are also some of the harshest critics to ourselves.
Yes.
And
True.
which is good and which is necessary. And we have our own ideas about our pictures, but it's so interesting to see what happens if they go into resonance in another person's brain. And Magda, being a photographer herself, being a curator, having now these pictures and creating something completely different.
Yeah.
Creating a different narrative where I say like, oh wow, I couldn't come up with this, because of course I'm too close to these kind of things.
Yeah.
I know all these people by name,
Yeah.
Some of them are my friends, and
Yeah.
and I've seen the pictures way too long, It's, so we managed well.
Okay.
Magda managed well to bring them together. I won't spoil too much.
Don't.
Other than
Please don't.
it's going to be very nice. It is in that extent of how many pictures we are displaying. It is the biggest time and the first time that we show so much of them at the same time, which is crazy in the regard that all of them are uniques and carbon prints.
Yeah.
It probably is the biggest carbon print exhibition in Europe.
Wow.
If not the world, because I don't know who would bring so many carbon prints at the same time together. It's in Porto. The gallery space is beautiful, and the topic and the gallery itself, like everything matches so well. So I'm very, very happy, and I'm looking forward to the exhibition. Yeah.
Do you know if Mario's coming to the opening?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Great.
Mario's going to be there, and we're also bringing, we're setting up this kind of we did it already the last exhibitions that we had, and we always got very great feedback on it. We're also creating this kind of didactic table where we would have test prints, failed prints, and kind of
great.
make the
awesome.
process more accessible in a very rudimentary, easy way, which is undercomplicated. It's way more complicated than we can display it, because I don't understand half of it. But it's always a great way to show the process a little bit closer.
So you're nervous?
No.
Are you getting nervous about this?
I must say,
seems like a bit of a closing for all of this, because the project has toured so much. Is this going to be the last exhibition?
I don't know. I mean, we're going to every now and when we would get an invitation to another. Maybe it's a group show, or maybe it's just an excerpt from. Can we show 5 prints of here or there? And so things like this happen definitely. But I think the formal, how it will be shown in with this Marvel columns and the Marvel floor in the gallery, I think that's most definitely a highlight, because also we can show a lot, and that's great. It's not I don't know, I don't take it for granted to have such a beautiful gallery space to show my work. And so I think I'm definitely nervous in that sense, but this is also how you can tell that you're working with a good gallerist. If you don't feel nervous, if you feel good, that no, things are taken care of. You do your job, and they will do the rest. And then or at least this is what I've experienced now. Like if I feel calm, usually that's a good sign for the work of the gallerist.
Do you have any advice for photographers about collaborating with dancers or other kind of performers? How do you build trust so that your subjects move authentically and gracefully and without that pose kind of feeling?
That's a good one. I think this applies, like what I'm about to say applies to everything in photography. It's a human connection. I think if you're working with a human being, no matter if it's a CEO, politician, or a dancer, or a musician, the most important thing is that you will click, and that there's a difference between that photo and the photo where you see, now you got them.
Some kind of bonding with the people
Yes.
you're shooting.
Yes. And sometimes that would mean that I would take picture and picture and picture, and I would kind of try to portray, and I see, no, they're still behind that. They still have that curtain. And then like it's a very stupid or simple trick that I usually do, but sometimes I would just ask them about home. Like, where do you come from? Like, where's your home? Where were you brought up? And then I would also ask them about their favorite food, which is very relatable. Everybody I don't know, like
everybody eats.
Everybody eats.
Unlocks some doors that they might be still closed.
That's a good tip.
Yeah,
exactly.
To make people more comfortable and be more themselves. Yeah,
we have many photography students, so if they're listening, this is a really good tip for working with someone we're portraying, right?
And imagine having whoever it is, like if you photographing a high-ranked politician, he is in his mode. He would be in this, okay, he has a, like an appointment in a few minutes, and you only have a couple of minutes to get it. You need to create this kind of intimacy or like human connection with like very fast. And you need to know, and it can be the repetitive in these kind of questions. You can do these with almost everybody, but if you have this high-ranked politician who is asked about responsibilities and all these kind of things every day, who is in his zone, if you ask him, what is your favorite food, and then he will say, like, I don't know, spaghetti carbonara, and then he would say, like, why is that? And then my mother always used to do that. And suddenly he's talking about his mother and
memories.
Exactly.
Memories.
And you can see that in the picture.
Wow.
You can see this in the picture. The moment before he cracked and where he was behind the door. And I think with dance, it's very general. Like, you need to find that kind of like opening. And I do feel that whenever we work with human beings as photographers, that's the job. That's the actual cause or the assignment. And that's why you need to know your craft, because the craft is just a side business.
Yeah.
The main business is getting that person and getting her to open up. Yeah.
It's a human connection.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions from our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
They're very peculiar, so I'll read some of them. At first glance, já agora esta é do Rui Pedro Oliveira, abraço para ele.
Thank you, Rui.
Rui Pedro Oliveira wrote, at first glance, the highlight of your career seems to be your commercial work, but fortunately, you don't hide your opinions. Do you think there's a fear in art, in the art world, when it comes to expressing opinions or political positions?
Yes, I think so. And I also sometimes do struggle with finding the right balance of, filling that gap, because we all, human beings are not detached from our outside world. So we're all political beings, and I'm a very politically engaged person. I have that's how I was brought up, and it always played a very important role in my life. And sometimes I do struggle with, okay, how do I merge what I do for a living, and how can I live with myself if I don't know, work for big ass companies that give me a paycheck? How do I manage these kind of things? And sometimes it doesn't happen. Like sometimes you won't find that way. And on the other side, especially within your own projects, where you are the author, you're the person who's giving the briefing, this is your opinion. I think especially in that context, people shouldn't be afraid of any repercussions of like saying what they think. Or I mean, that's also what art is for.
He has a peculiar question here that says, as a German artist, how do you view the cancellation of exhibitions by other artists in Germany due to their public positions on Palestine, as was the case of Candy Spritz?
I mean, we also, like just now in Arles, Nan Goldin was how do you say, premiered for The Woman in Motion. And I think that I think like to certain political.
Is the art world contaminated by politics?
It is. I mean, sometimes it is, but also
there's also
everything is
shady.
political. I mean, it is.
Okay.
Also, everything is political, and so art, so should art as well. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. I think that, for example, I mean, the main discourse, for example, which is happening currently at universities, the classes that we take and the topics that are on vogue and what is going on, in the universal discourse. One of the biggest topics there is authorship and gaze. These are like the main topics. Like, it doesn't necessarily form and aesthetics and composition and all these kind of things, or at least this is what I observe, is that form and aesthetics are secondary, and gaze, authorship is more important. And representation, gaze, and authorship. And I do also agree with these kind of things if your art wants to be that. If you want your art to be political, you can do that, but you would also have to recognize that it could have political repercussions on you because of certain political climates.
Yes.
Then you would have, certain political topics like Gaza and Palestine and Israel. And if you throw yourself politically in a Shark Tank in this political topic and this political climate, which, science and, conflict scientists and peace solvers and the UN and many, many, many people who are much more smarter than us photographers, if they cannot solve it, I'm sure my photo project won't solve it neither. That's my opinion on it.
You can always raise awareness to the
You can.
issue. Yeah.
You definitely can.
But
But
there always could be some backlash. I don't doubt someone
But the
will
awareness, I
fight
think
back.
it's one of the major things that we can have with our art.
Art can be protest. Yeah.
definitely, and I mean, like I did this LGBTQ series also a couple of years back where I photographed. It wasn't not like I didn't necessarily photograph just LGBTQ people, but hetero couples, and like I photographed kissing people, many, like hundreds. And we had a beautiful exhibition, outdoor exhibition, and I got mainly I got very good feedback on it. And then after the exhibition, I go to holiday and I'm chilling there and I'm relaxing, having a good time. And then I get like a message from the curator, and she sent me, "Have you read the article?" I was like, "What article?" And that was the first time I got like a bad review or like a critique, And there was like a woman who completely hated it, like she hated it. And she said like, this is not about love, this is about looks. And she completely, I don't know, she never spoke to me. She never, like she brought up informations where like she said that, yeah, because during COVID, he didn't have enough jobs, so he photographed that. I was like, what? How did you know? Like, how would you know?
Pointless.
And you never talked to me.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't know your part.
No. But I think like this is like I got angry, of course, at first, but then on the other side, I was also very happy and thankful for having that kind of like feedback quite early on, because it taught me that, of course, if you put yourself out there, there always can be a resonance and there can always be repercussions on the topics that you photograph. And you have to know your room. You have to know your audience. And for example, like this series that I'm currently working on it's a very collaborative a series about love. And I photograph basically with my girlfriend, and we are, as you would say, like a very heteronormative, cringe cis couple,
Okay.
Like we're just we're just hetero people.
Yeah.
And she is also a beautiful woman. And that wouldn't be necessarily the en vogue discourse that is currently on display, and could be controversial. You could say, "Oh, wow, another man who's photographing his beautiful wife.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so new." No, it's not new. It's not new. It's been done over and over again. But to do it now and to say, okay, maybe I will bring another twist into it. Maybe I will bring her voice into it and say like, no, she's not just a muse. Maybe why are you asking me as a photographer about my position on feminism? Why don't you ask what she's thinking? Why is she photographed like that? Why does she want to be depicted like that? And of course, I also do know that with this topic, I will bring myself into a room where I could get shit for it, which is ridiculous, but it can happen. And I think that's just something that, everybody who's producing something and putting things out there has to be aware of. That people will always
consequences.
People will always have an opinion on things.
Yeah. Especially nowadays.
Yeah. Well, Alwin, thank you so much for your time. We could stay here for
forever
almost having a talk, but for now I think it was a great conversation. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Can't wait to see your exhibition at Lake.
I can't wait to have you over there.
Are you coming 1 or 2 days before for the mounting of the exhibition?
Of course.
Yeah.
I will help Magda. I will be there on Tuesday. Next Tuesday,
Okay.
I'm already in
Okay.
Porto.
Okay, thanks.
Are you guys based in Porto?
Yeah.
Cool. I will text you. Maybe we can grab a drink or something.
Yeah,
that will be great. Yeah. Just a recall, the exhibition will be at Lake Storing Gallery in Porto, starting July 26th until October 11th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now we're going to say goodbye to our listeners in Portuguese. Okay? I hope you don't
Obrigado.
mind.
Thank you so
Thank you
guys.
so much. Malta, espero que tenham gostado deste episódio. Relembramos mais uma vez.
Soube a pouco.
É verdade, mas hoje estamos aqui um bocado contidos no tempo, um bocado limitados, porque a gente realmente tínhamos aqui mais para conversar. Relembramos, a exposição do Alwin vai estar presente a partir do dia 26 de julho, vai contar com a participação dele a partir das 4 da tarde, ok? Portanto, quem quiser a inauguração, esteja lá às 4 da tarde, e a exposição vai estar em exibição até dia 11 de outubro, como nós acabamos de falar. Como sabem, tudo tem um fim, não é? E hoje não é só o final deste episódio, como também é o final desta temporada. Okay? Pronto, agora tem que ser.
Somos nós e os Black Sabbath a acabar ao mesmo tempo.
É verdade, é mais ou menos. Não, mas eles acabaram mesmo, nós vamos fazer uma pausa, calma, é diferente. Por isso, malta, muito obrigado por estarem desse lado. Não se esqueçam, apesar de nós acabarmos, continuamos no Discord. Ok? Portanto, continuamos a comunicar por lá, estamos a responder também às vossas mensagens no Discord. Juntem-se ao nosso Discord, tem o link na bio do nosso Instagram, ou então também visitem o nosso Instagram. E também nos podem contactar por e-mail, que é Ruben.
Para o prova de contacto.podcast@gmail.com.
Aí está. Por isso, malta, muito obrigado por estarem desse lado. Esperamos contar com vocês no nosso regresso da nossa temporada. Ainda não sabemos bem quando vai ser, mas vai ser. Não se preocupem, vai acontecer. E até pode ser que até lá possa até aparecer um outro episódio especial, se assim se justificar.
Vamos tentar.
Veremos, ok, malta? Por isso, muito obrigado por estarem desse lado e até a próxima temporada. Um abraço.